Hello, I'm Sharon Martin. I'm a licensed psychotherapist specializing in codependency, healthy relationships, and setting boundaries. This video is around the theme of compare and despair, which I think is something lots of us struggle with in some form or fashion. So, this is based on a viewer question that came to me. I'm going to just paraphrase the question and then we'll move into thinking about some strategies to deal with this compare and despair phenomenon. So, this person has written that they are distressed about an upcoming family reunion that happens once a year. They note that actually, after they go to the reunion, they're happy that they went. The family members are warm and welcoming, they're healthy relationships, so there's no issue with the relationships amongst the family members, which that's great. I know so many of us have struggles with the relationship part. But this person's issue is that they go to the family reunion and that becomes a painful reminder of what they have missed out on in life, which is a loving and cohesive immediate family. And then that results in that feeling of comparing and feeling like they come up short. There's something wrong with them, they've done something wrong, or they've missed the opportunity to have something that they want. And then for several days afterwards, they feel very upset, kind of go into this tailspin about it, and they're wondering how they could cope with this situation better because it sounds like it's something that is meaningful and they really want to attend the family reunion. They just would like to avoid, sort of that feeling of sadness and upset and regret that's coming up for them. So I suspect that a lot of you cannot relate to this exact situation. It's probably not exactly where your struggle lies, but I think a lot of the strategies that I'm going to share with you can be applied to other situations where you experience this compare and despair. So, the first thing that they can do when they are heading into this family reunion is be very intentional about the way that they are thinking about themselves and trying to avoid the compare and despair. So, the way that we can do this is by sort of taking advantage of the fact that this person is aware that this is likely to happen in this particular situation, which means that they can go into it with this idea of, okay, when I notice that I am falling into this old pattern of thinking, I notice that I'm comparing myself, I notice that I'm saying something negative about myself, I'm feeling not enough, I'm feeling sad about something, that becomes the opportunity then to shift your thoughts away from that and really to be saying to yourself, I don't want to be in this place of compare. I don't want to be in a place of measuring myself against what somebody else has. I want to be fully focused on what's good in my life, what I like about myself, the positives, and I want to keep my focus there. So often, what happens when we try to change our thoughts in these kinds of ways is that we will have to do it repeatedly, which can sometimes be a little disconcerting or a little bit frustrating for people, but it's completely normal that if you're at an event for several hours, that this is probably going to happen multiple times, or even if it's after the fact. There's probably going to be many times over the next few days where this person finds their thoughts shifting back. They just kind of naturally will drift back to that comparison place. And again, you're going to repeatedly just say to yourself, okay, I don't want to be thinking about this in this particular way. Here's what I do want to think. And so we're really intentional about saying, here's the thought I want to have, and sort of planting that seed. And the idea is that the more that you keep bringing your thoughts to the place where you want them to be, it will become easier, and those will eventually become more automatic, and it will take less effort than it does for you in the beginning. So that's one piece of it. And then the other strategy can actually feel like it's almost the polar opposite, which interestingly enough, I think is often true when we have some kind of therapeutic strategies or some behavior change strategies, is that we sort of approach things from two seemingly very different sides of the issue. So, like I said, that first part is trying to shift away from the comparison thoughts. But the other is to let's also acknowledge the thoughts that are coming up. And it seems pretty clear that there are some feelings of, perhaps regret or sadness, really a grief that is being activated by the family reunion. And I get the sense from this person that this happens repeatedly year after year. This isn't just a one time occurrence, which basically tells me that there is some underlying grief. There is some sadness there, or regret, or some of those other feelings, as I mentioned, that are not being completely dealt with. And so when we realize that there are some, sort of unprocessed, unfinished, feelings that we have, that also is telling us that we need to deal with those. It doesn't mean that they need to be dealt with in the moment of the family reunion, or necessarily even in the few days that come afterwards. But the idea is to say, okay, like this is something that is still there. I haven't completely worked through, feeling some sadness about this. And I need to give myself the opportunity to do that. I need to continue to grieve the loss that I feel about not having an immediate family. I'm not sure what this person's particular situation is. If it was, I'm assuming it's something along the lines of maybe they never got married, or they are divorced, or estranged from some immediate family. So there's kind of feeling like there's a hole there. Um, so once again, I mean, that might be thinking about, well, what are some strategies that I might use to allow myself to, really grieve that loss. Everybody's different. It can be anything, or a lot of combinations of things. Um, Journaling, or reading a book about grief, or prayer, or exercise, or meditation, crying, going to therapy, going to a support group for people who are struggling with something similar. There's lots of different options, and like I said, usually we need some kind of combination of things to help us. But that would be my other suggestion, is to not ignore the fact that those difficult feelings are coming up, because it sounds like those also need to be addressed as well. And I think that once that process is moving forward, that it seems likely that in the reunions that follow, that perhaps those feelings of compare and despair may not show up as much as well. Okay, thanks and take care.